Next week. Hey guys, welcome back to Capital After Hours. We have more time to talk about some of the issues that we didn't get around to in the broadcast version of Cap Report. Kind of loosen our ties a little bit, to get a couple more glasses of water. In the broadcast program, we talked a lot about the race for governor and two new additions, Betsy McCoy, Harry Aurora in the race. Let's see a clip from Betsy McCoy first, guys.
Property tax relief is on its way. And for seniors, they've paid their fair share. 16 states already offer very significant relief to seniors, including Florida. And I will do the same. The fact is, seniors whose households earn less than $500,000 a year, a very hefty amount, should not pay any more property taxes in the state of Connecticut. They've done their job. They've done it. It's over. I wrote a little jingle for you. Are you ready? Owners vote red. Renters vote blue. Fight for homeowners. It will make a winner out of you.
I'm not sure what to think about that, but McGee on the broadcast program, you had your own little jingle.
It was hers.
It was hers.
It was so ridiculous, he repeated it.
I had to repeat it.
Well, Joe, from a policy standpoint, and we'll get Lizzie in to talk about some of the fundraising constraints that she faces with trying to be a CEP candidate. So was she right there or not?
No, she's dead wrong. Look, the state of Connecticut, while I was in the legislature, we looked at both Social Security income and pensions, and we're on our way to where we'll have it not taxable. Seniors in our state have, and the municipals have the municipal option, which almost all of them have adopted, to do that same thing, put buffers in, put caps on the senior housing. But to say the seniors require no services from those municipalities is a little disingenuous, and they should pay something for them. Could we do more? Yeah, maybe, but to take it totally off the table and tell the municipalities, hey, you're no longer going to be getting those property taxes from anybody who qualifies under her program, how is she going to fill that hole? Right? That's always the historical problem we have. We have a lot of policies we want to initiate. How do you make the municipalities whole? They still have services they have to provide.
Well, and Joe, we talked about that when I was in the legislature about senior tax relief.
Yeah.
And a lot of towns and cities do that. They have different ways of doing it. Some is a deferral. You don't pay taxes, but when you sell your house, you owe money back. And cities like Bridgeport, their reps came to me and said, hey, you don't understand how much this is going to hurt us. If you allow us to do these things, people are going to demand it, and we're going to be really struggling for tax policy. And before we get into Liz's deep dive on CEP, I just wanted to say one thing about the politics of this. Nothing says let's go get Gen Z voters as crapping on renters. I've got 4 kids in their 20s and early 30s. They're all renting. If you want to speak to them, don't attack renters. Talk about how you can make them homeowners.
And and I figured she, as a former lieutenant governor from New York, and she's very smart, would come with a more tactical and strategic approach to her recommendations around affordable housing, safeguarding our homeowners, et cetera. But to your point, to attack out the gate.
How about starting with better lighting? If you're going to announce your candidate for governor, how about having some...
And just to add, before Liz goes with the hurdles, because they are significant.
Everyone's waiting with bated breath. I don't know if I have anything smart to say.
She's running the 400-meter hurdle dash or whatever.
Many of my former football players talk to me all the time. They're off in cities. They're up in Massachusetts. They're in New York. They want to come back to their hometown. They're thinking about starting a family. They want their kids in Berlin schools. They cannot afford it. They are renters. They may be renting in West Hartford, or they may even be able to rent in Berlin. They want that home ownership. A total wrong message.
But conversely, right, those who have the means by which to live wherever they want to return back, there's nothing there for them.
Yes.
Right? And so, anyway.
All right, Liz. So,
sorry, Liz.
How difficult will it be for Betsy McCoy to raise her money to get to her match for CEP?
Well,
like Ryan Fazio and Aaron Stewart already have, and they're spending cash.
Well,
right?
First of all, you are the only one on this panel who's actually been through the process of having to raise those qualifying
How'd that work out for him?
Not a lot of
It didn't work out well.
They're tough. We went from
Well,
200.
capital
It was
report.
harder back then.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, because you only had a $100 contribution limit. And now that we've changed the way CEP works, it's really important for people who are used to the program as it existed prior to this cycle. There's a new grant that's available to candidates, and that is for the convention. So if you're Ryan Fazio and Aaron Stewart and you raised your $250,000 in $250 increments, you will now be able to apply, or they did, I should say, apply and were approved, I believe, for the grant for $806,000 from CEP to compete at the convention. They're then going to get $2 million to compete in the primary if they get their 15% or they collect their qualifying signatures. And this is a really important piece because you have to be a candidate for that election in order to receive the grant. So both Betsy and Harry will have to participate in the convention in a meaningful way in order to apply for that first tranche of money, which for them will require they raise $335,500 in $340 increments, and they have to, and then they'll get a grant of I think it's like $900 and something $1,000. So there's an adjustment for CPI, and that is what we're contending with. But they have a very short window to do that, and I don't think people appreciate an extra $90,000 to raise is a lot
of
of
money.
money.
I have a question for Liz,
Good.
because I did this, and
You did it.
quite frankly, I think it's the worst decision Seek and Jeff Greenfield ever made, and I still don't understand it. But they decided way back when Tom Foley was running against Mike Fedeli that if you gave Mike Fedeli $100 and you gave Mike Fedeli's running mate, who wasn't his running mate at the time but became his running mate, $100, that would both count.
Do you know why they did
So,
it?
yeah.
Because they were desperate to have somebody
CEP
use
candidates
the
on each
CEP.
party, because
Correct.
Dan Malloy was
Yes.
using it and Ed Lamont
Yeah.
wasn't.
Nothing
so my
like a
question
little
is,
political
do
desperation.
you think Betsy and or Harry picking a lieutenant governor candidate who can essentially get 2 checks from the same household, do you think that's a path?
It is certainly something that I would imagine they would want to think about. It's not something I had thought about until you brought it up, but I think that it's certainly a worthwhile strategy to consider if you're really, you need to raise that money. For all intents and purposes, strategically, in order to be able to spend the money, you really need to raise it by April, right? You need that money. You have about 90 days to
think the
raise
state party could use your
$340,000. No. But at that point, you're really having to raise this money in $25,000 a week. It's a lot of money
before we,
in $340 increments.
Before we end this segment, I want to get to Harry Aurora, but my friend Roy Grosso, who ran Dan Malloy's campaign, told me, and I'm sure all of you guys, the single most hardest thing he ever has done in all Connecticut politics was raise that money.
It is. It's hard. It's
hard.
It's easier now because they changed the qualifying limit. So when you did it, when Roy was doing it, it was $5 to $100. Now for Aaron and Ryan, it was $250, and now it's $340.
And
It makes a
every-
big difference because
But
now
you
you're
still has to be disciplined. You got to be in the car making calls, getting
But
money.
the other thing is, because it's now seeped into our system so much and almost everybody's using it, now you'll get someone who'll write a $100 check to a couple of candidates. It's
you're
not
going
seen
to
as,
s-
I
yeah.
can only give to
It's
one
not
candidate.
untoward to do that for
right.
sure.
And I think what Tom was referring to wasn't Ed Lamont's point, right? Him self-funding frees him up of those conversations.
Yeah.
And not to say that campaign donations ever come with, hey, they don't, or they're not supposed to, but he doesn't even have to have those conversations.
I'm glad you brought that up because the one thing I'm going to disagree pretty strongly with the governor about is I don't care what you're spending and I don't care what the state is putting into a campaign through the grant. If the race is competitive, there's outside money. It doesn't matter.
Really?
As the,
Have we ever talked about this before?
I believe you called me a dark
Sure.
money sleazebag, and I will proudly wear that and wrap myself in that for everybody at home. But you're going to have outside money.
Everybody at home drink every time Liz says dark money sleaze bag, Jody Rell or Brack.
Or Vinny.
Hey, let's get that Harry Aurora clip in before we go.
I'm happy that there are more candidates. I'm happy that we're going to have a more robust conversation. And I'm happy to have everyone with different perspective. Ryan comes with a different perspective, and Aaron comes from a different perspective, and so does Betsy. I respect them all. I respect them. I I'm glad they are here, and I'm looking forward to the debate. I have a very clear vision. You know, I'm 56 years old, right? You know, there's something which comes with time, with experience, with, you know, years matter, experience matters. And I have a clear vision, a clear idea of what's going wrong.
Well, you know, we talked about this earlier today, that when he was on the ballot last as a candidate for treasurer, he did a pretty good job.
He did.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at, and we talked about this on the program, primary voters have consistently gone for the outsider, not just in Connecticut, but across the country. You saw that with Ned Lamont, right? There's this gravitational pull to somebody who's not currently part of what people perceive as the problem, which is government and politics. And so there's this sort of intrinsic trust of people who are not part of the political apparatus. And so I think that's where you see a lane for Betsy, and currently for Harry, because he's not elected and is not currently part of the Hartford machine, as it were. And so that is something that Aaron and Ryan are going to have to contend with in terms of the primary process, and you had to do that too.
Yeah, I think Harry's going to find out. Liz has talked about this a lot, which is just because he was our candidate for treasurer doesn't mean there's, you know, strong support for him or even knowledge of who he is outside of his small world. He's got the hardest road to go of the candidates, and one caution, he apparently is exploratory a race. He needs to be very careful in his language because there are rules about being an exploratory committee versus being a candidate. He's sounding like a candidate.
Like he declared already.
And
Dave
that's a
Walker
problem.
found that out the hard way.
Lots of people.
Yeah, and going to the outsider, I think Harry can fill that role. I did serve with him for one term up in the legislature. He never really distinguished himself in any real policy area. He did talk a lot on the floor, so we get to know him a little bit and hear where he's...
A lot of coded words
Spoken
there,
like
Joe.
a true
A lot
speaker.
of coded words.
Spoken like a true speaker.
But how can he pick up where he left off? And has he been cultivating those relationships over the last 4.5 years or so to say, look, I've been here, I've been doing the hard work, I'm still a leader, and being able to articulate that.
Or standing up just for issues. Has he been working on issues? Has he been out there?
And hopefully not a lot of people are going to watch this, but let's
This is going to be good.
Well, no, let's
This is
talk
as
about
popular as the broadcast
Let's talk
program.
about what nobody really wants to talk about. When Ryan Fazio ran for the state senate, Harry Aurora and Leora Levy were both trying to run for the state senate as well. Leora did not really get any delegates. Ryan beat Harry, and Harry dropped out because he didn't have the delegates. Liz and I talked about this on, I think Harry was telling some people he was interested maybe in running for the state senate. Ryan Fazio would love to support Tina Corpus for the state senate. I don't think she's made a decision yet. I think there's some real animosity on Harry Aurora's part against Ryan Fazio.
I can't imagine Greenwich politics would ever play a role
No.
in any
Hardly.
Shocked.
way.
Shocked. Shocked. That's where Ned Lamont came out of the Greenwich politics.
And I don't know how
Selectman.
your Republican conventions work. At some level, it feels as though maybe he's auditioning for another seat. And, when you get in the room and you have multiple candidates and you're trying to cobble together the votes,
a
at
good
least
point.
on the Democratic side, there's a lot of, hey, why don't you drop out here, send your delegates my way.
He would have a free path to the treasurer's race again if he wanted to. There
His
isn't
exploratory
a lot of people out
paperwork
there.
indicated specifically he was not looking
Correct.
at that because obviously there are greater restrictions on from whom you can raise the money for that.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break. And in the more words of our friend Jim Cameron, we're talking transportation. We get back. Don't go away.
Tolls.
Planes.
See you. We're back, California After Hours, alongside the panel, the great Brandon McGee, and the sharp new threads here. We were talking about this on the broadcast program.
gotta get you in a
No,
groove.
winter weight. I
man,
get too. Every so much I get too sweaty for
Yeah.
winter weight. And we're not in the income bracket yet, where we have summer suits, winter suits.
It's called clearance.
It's clear. It's just. Hey guys,
As Johnny looks like.
well, McKinney could afford 2 suits too, believe me. Governor Lamont was at the New Haven Chamber of Commerce, and he entertained the crowd. He was talking transportation. First, we have 2 clips. One, he talked about rail. Watch this.
This is a rail state. I can't build other lanes on highways, and people have still got to get around. So I'm a big believer in rail. I'll tell you, we've doubled down on rail on the Waterbury line. I've doubled down on rail on the Waterbury line because they're building thousands of units of housing along the Waterbury line. The demand there is very strong.
Transit-oriented development, guys.
TOD.
Acronyms,
But I've always
I'm
said,
laughing because, so go ahead.
no, please.
Good.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so TOD, from my perspective,
You're the housing guy here.
Listen,
But this
we
is the
grew up.
transportation segment.
All we do is slap new names on existing. You know, it is very common, right? Transportation, where you live, access so that you can get to and from your job, thrive in communities, and I think it's where we should be going and where we've been heading.
Right.
For far too long.
I totally agree. I was just laughing because the governor said we can't add more lanes on the highway. Well, there was a Malloy proposal to actually make the lanes
smaller.
narrower.
Yeah, narrower.
And then one day, because I was on the transportation committee, and there are a lot of good lobbyists, and they're advocating for their cause. And the construction industry and other folks came and met with me, and they actually had a full specs on double-decker 95 through Fairfield County. And I'm like,
Good luck.
this is not going to work here,
Didn't
people.
Larson want to do that? Didn't he
No,
want
he
like
wanted
a
to do
big
the-
He wanted a
gate?
tunnel.
Okay,
These are
okay,
tunnels.
sorry,
Would be a
sorry.
great idea.
How dare I
In East
forget?
Hartford.
Actually,
But,
would've
see,
been
but
a
that
good
points to the issue here is that we
That's-
spend all this money on roads, double-decking 95,
We don't need roads.
building tunnels under
A bridge to
rail.
Long
Look at the
Island.
A
84
bridge
viaduct.
to Long
That's
Island.
not-
When we should be focusing on commuter rail, transportation. You know, I mean, we've all seen it on Facebook and Twitter. Here's the map of the United States rail system, and here's Europe. And you know, you can't even find the lines between the rail lines.
The
There's so many of
problem
them.
is that every time it comes up, people say it's too expensive without recognizing that the longer you wait to do it,
The more
they
expensive.
had a vote in the 80s to do a light rail system through Stamford down to Bridgeport off to sort of the Shelton area, and everyone's like, it's too expensive. Well, 40 years
Pay
later.
me now or pay me later.
Yeah, it's pay
I
me now,
think
pay me later. You
Max-
got to invest now.
I think Max Reese might be the only person I know who actually takes the train from Hartford to New Haven to get into the city, right? Like even for what we have, from the people that I know that live up in the Hartford area, there are so few people who actually take advantage of that rail system.
It just doesn't feel very user-friendly. In Berlin, we did the TOD. We have housing right around the train station. We have the beautiful new train station. And I've never utilized it because I'll go on the apps, I'll try to figure out, it's not very user-friendly. In the delays, and when I get down to New Haven and I can get out to New York, it just doesn't.
And if there's a
line up.
rail issue, they can put you on a bus. You don't
How
have
about
to
the busway to nowhere?
Busway, yeah.
It goes somewhere.
Yeah, well, listen, with autonomous cars and all of that kind of stuff.
We're not
people
far
should be able to
away.
move.
Meet George Jetson.
All right, let's transition to we did trains. Let's do planes. Punch that Tweed clip in, guys.
I'm a big believer in Tweed Airport. I think we've had some stops and starts there, as you maybe know. Obviously, there's 10 times more activity there than there was just 10 years ago. And I understand we've got to be very, very sensitive to local concerns, but there's got to be a way to get this done.
Yeah, that applause line proved he wasn't at the East Haven Chamber of Commerce, right? He was at the New Haven Chamber of Commerce. But it has proven to be an economic engine in this region, and probably a good thing. And it's not going away, and they probably are going to expand it. And so
It is.
there you
It
go.
is, and there was an opportunity to pick either Bridgeport or New Haven. New Haven and Yale had a big role in this. Got the airport. It's good for the region. There are too many lawyers involved right now, not to get into the weeds of it, but there's a lot of money supporting a lot of legal work to stop this thing. I think back in the day, if you had sat Len Fasano as the Senate Minority Leader from East Haven, and Marty Looney as the Senate
From Morris
President
Cove?
from Morris Cove in New Haven, together in a room, and I think if you did it today, they would have a solution that was the best solution. Not everybody's gonna be happy within 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I sat in on those arguments, John, or those discussions even about why New Haven over Bridgeport, and I do think it's the right answer. And when Sean Scanlon was on at Tweed, he really did a great job revitalizing it, getting it up and running, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and without the additional land, it becomes more difficult. I know eminent domain tends to be a real scary word for folks around here, but at some point, if they can't get together and come up with a solution, and only one that's making money is the lawyers and nothing's really happening, I think they should put it back on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need a really comprehensive look at all of our transportation infrastructure and where can we grow, how can we get trucks off the road, how can we make our roadways more safe. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and obviously whether it's the highways, the airways, the waterways, what have you, I think there are plenty of opportunities for Connecticut.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, it's a potpourri quick third block. I think Brandon wants to talk about black farmers in Connecticut.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, and Johanna Hayes, guys. See you in a second.
The seal.
All right, guys, we're back for the final block, the potpourri block, where we talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about. We're talking about Johanna Hayes trying to go for the Agriculture Committee chairwoman should the Democrats control of Congress in the 26 midterm elections. We're talking about black farmers, and what are the percentage of black farmers in Connecticut?
Yeah, today, I mean, we're talking about 2 to 3%. Although it's a very low number, they play a critical role in producing materials and quite frankly, some critical needs around food in the state of Connecticut. But having Johanna Hayes, I think, move forward in her efforts of becoming the next chair of the Agriculture Committee would be extremely helpful for Eastern Connecticut and other places in the state.
And her role in the committee is somewhat of an underreported story here in Connecticut. That you have a black congresswoman from the 5th Congressional District taking a pivotal role in the issues of agriculture nationwide. I mean, Delora gets a lot of props for her discussing the FDA and food safety, and we kind of forget that Johanna has a pretty big role there.
And I mean, we're talking about, we just had a conversation around SNAP, right, and food assistance, et cetera. Johanna Hayes, she was at the forefront of those conversations, and her senior level sort of being there for a while and a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, Johanna really has an opportunity to take the lead on many of these conversations. And I wish her the best, and I really hope she has that opportunity. Now, she does have to contend with individuals from Ohio, or an individual from Ohio, Representative Brown, who's also, her name is in the mix of becoming the next chair. So there's a lot of campaigning in D.C. I think Johanna is going to have to do.
And I actually think there's a synergy between the agriculture and her work on the SNAP, right? Like getting real quality food instead of it being farm to factory to the kids.
That's right.
It can be actually farm to the kids. And we've done some programs with that, but I don't think we've done enough. It would provide a vital lifeline to some of our local farmers, but also ensure that our kids that are relying on some of the federal and state programs,
Guys,
good quality food.
Guys, topic number 2, UConn Athletics announced their annual report of the contribution to Connecticut's economy, $270 million to the Connecticut state economy for watching hoops, basketball, and football.
Not as much as pizza.
Not as much as pizza.
Mic drop.
I think folks need an out, right? With the
Right.
geopolitical space and the tension that exists,
Right.
folks are really leaning in on what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And it's a great product. Look, I'll take some
I
share
don't
of
know.
that.
I need that toolkit.
I'll take some share of that investment. I know Matt Ritter's nearly at any game, men or women, that's in the Connecticut area. I believe he even went out to Rhode Island. Look, it is our team. We have something to be proud about. You know, Connecticut athletics is really where it's at, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad UConn actually put the numbers to it because there's so many discussions about cutting things. We cannot touch that.
It could and should be more, right? I mean, to your point, I mean, if you look at the global impact of pizza in the state of Connecticut's economy, if you're looking at UConn as a fraction of that, I think it speaks volumes to, frankly, how much more we could do and how much more we could grow that and maybe what the Sun could have been participating in if they were staying.
So are you saying UConn should hire Anthony?
There you go.
Shout out.
Anthony.
That's not a
The
controversial
biggest
take, huh?
disconnect over the years, though, has always been Fairfield County.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
UConn won a new football stadium, I didn't have a lot of people in my district who were like, yeah, let's go spend that $92 million.
Oh, God, you folks
Well,
down
because
there.
Hartford might as well be Albany.
But the reason why, but the reason why I bring that up is there are billionaires in Fairfield County who, when you look at the Texases of the world and the Oregons of the world, their NIL is all funded by a billionaire or two. If we can ever connect, those billionaires in Fairfield County, Mark D'Amelio's great, but those billionaires in Fairfield County into the NIL, UConn will take off
just give credit where it's due, I think, and I'm not assigning a net wealth to him, but Mark Shankman has done a tremendous amount for UConn. Mark is from Greenwich, so it's not a total disconnect there. You have to give credit
schooled
where
over
it's
here.
due.
Hey guys, and the final
girl
out,
knows.
guys, the final out topic. We remember our friend Larry Cafaro, who was McKinney's pal in the House. He basically had a law because of his own ice missile problem on the roadways of Connecticut. He put a law that says you have to clean off your car roof, and there was reporting by Hearst that says that people are not cleaning off their roof, and there's missiles. Look, you're pissed.
I am pissed. I've had 3 broken windshields by it, and I was a young representative when Larry did it, and I almost stood up clapping.
But he didn't.
Well, because it was, it was Larry. But people need to be fined. The truckers need to be fined.
Right.
Enough.
The trucks are actually-
very
Sheets
dangerous.
of ice
But
coming
they're the
off those
problem.
things.
I know.
Well, they are, and they're interstate trucks. They should know the laws, but they
Right.
probably don't.
Yeah.
Well-
we all clean ours off, right?
Of course.
Yes.
I don't have a garage, so I am out there with the
I
law.
gotta get a broom.
If you're not the kind of person, I use my leaf blower. If it's, if it's,
We
if
do
it's,
that
if
too,
it's
yeah,
good
yeah.
enough. If it's good enough, right?
Well, you can't do that in Stamford. You can't use gas.
Okay, Greenwich too.
Yes.
Greenwich too. But if you're that guy that cleans off like this much on your front windshield,
you can see.
and so you can see,
That's
you're,
a problem.
You're driving there with your hat and gloves on, hoping the defroster's taken off. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that.
And you don't want
It
to be
used to be me
following
driving
that
this
guy.
You're not following that guy.
Go
All right,
through
guys.
the car
Put my
wash.
camera
That's
on.
gonna
Go through the car wash.
That'll do it for Cal Report After Hours. Here's Johnny Mac. We're going to give
All
an
right, you
after
really
hours
got it
shot
tight
at this,
for you
huh?
there.
Oh, it was close.
Absolutely not close at all. Oh,
2 in a row.
a bouncer.
See you later.
Try one more. Just
A bounce shot.